Welcome to the second segment of my testimony. Our guest on the program is Bongani who was just narrating to us what he went through. He was exposed by virtue of his work. He was exposed to some infection. Now, he says he began to lose his mind. Obviously, he can't tell us much now of what happened. This is where you come in. Can you pick it up from there?
Yes, man of God. He started losing his mind because his temperature was about 47. That's what the doctor said. And his temperature was 47. He didn't eat. He had thrush in his mouth. He couldn't eat. He couldn't do anything. So I was so worried. I was crying all day, praying to God and asked for favor that I don't want to be a widow. I don't want to lose my husband. What are the children going to do now? In such a way that the doctor at St. Augustine's Hospital actually declared him dead. But he wasn't dead, he was alive. I knew that he was alive because I serve a living God.
The doctors actually declared him dead.
They said he was on his last days, he was going. We must prepare for his burial.
Is that you there, sir?
Yeah.
He's afraid of himself, eh?
He doesn't want to talk about it now.
He doesn't want to talk about it. I can see it wasn't a nice thing.
Yeah.
So you were afraid that I am becoming a widow.
Yes.
And then what happened?
So the other day after cleaning, I was off because we were also a police officer, a warrant officer.
Oh, you're also a cop?
Yes.
That's interesting.
So we work 4 days on and 4 days off. So when I was on shift, I will go to the hospital at 7, and when I'm off, I will go to the hospital at 3. So while I was cleaning, all of a sudden I was watching Christ TV. The man of God was praying, and I was praying with the man of God. Then something came to me that, hey, I need to phone Christ TV because I was desperate.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
And it was bad. Like I used to cry every day and praying to God and asking God for mercy, that if we have done anything wrong, He must just forgive us.
It's okay, my sister. We are in the presence of God.
Then I was watching Christ TV and I phoned. I decided to phone. When I decided to phone, the man of God who answered the phone, he read a scripture about the valley of the dry bones.
Okay, this.
While I was in South Africa.
You were in South Africa,
Yes.
You phoned our Christ TV numbers.
Yes,
and
I did.
the person that answered you read the scripture about the valley of
Valley
dry
of
bones.
the dry bones, yes. He read the scripture, then he started praying. Then he told me, he said, you know what, go into the tap, go and get the water, fill it in the container or the jug, and let me pray for the water. So I had my cell phone, I had to get water from the tap and put it in the bottle, that Tupperware bottle, for me to take it to the hospital, and he prayed over that water. So 3 o'clock, I went to the hospital with that water. I gave it to him to drink because he was confused. He didn't know anything. He didn't even know who I was when I was in hospital.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
And even the nurses, they weren't taking care of him, and yet it's a very good hospital, but because they were thinking that he was going, it was very bad.
I can understand. If the doctor declares him dead, the nurses, what option
Yeah,
do
they were
have?
waiting for him to go, or they were waiting for me to sign and let him go. But I said, no, I will never do that because I know that he's still alive. So the next day, when I went to see him at 3 o'clock, the nurses asked me, they said, how? What medication did you bring yesterday when you came?
These are the nurses asking you,
Yes.
what had they seen?
Because he regained his consciousness and he started eating with all the thrush in his mouth.
All right, let me just get this in order. You phoned Christ TV
Yes.
and somebody, obviously not Prophet Makandiwa,
No,
prayed
another
for you.
pastor, yes.
Okay. In that same day, you took the water
The
that he
water
prayed
to-
over to Bongani's hospital bed. You gave him to drink.
Yes.
And the same day, he was eating and he had regained his mind.
Yes.
Wow, 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 wow. And what did you tell the nurses?
I said, I did not bring any medicine. I only brought the holy water that was prayed for by the man of God from Christ TV.
What else can we say, people of God? I'm itching to hear more. But let me just call upon my good friend, Dr. Mtewe, just to give us a medical view. Let's welcome the good doctor. Welcome, doctor.
Thank you, man of God.
Please be seated. You've obviously been listening. You've had a chance to look into Bongani's papers. What did you see? What did you arrive at?
Man of God, it was quite a complex condition which he suffered from. He had what is called a urinary tract infection. Urinary tract infections are infections of the bladder, of the kidneys, and the tubes which join the two, which we call the ureters, and also another tube which we call the urethra, which is supposed to drain urine from our bladder to the outside. So he had an infection of that system. What we usually do to treat that infection is we give antibiotics. But from my understanding of his situation is that they tried several different types of antibiotics and all of them were not working. Antibiotics are very potent drugs which we use to kill these things. But these infections, mind you, they are very clever. They change their forms and they become very resistant. You know, unlike in the army, in the human beings, you can use one gun to kill people. But with antibiotics, it has to be specific. One bug or one bacteria is killed by a certain type of drug. And the bacteria can all of a sudden change its form. And the drug which you were using, suddenly it stops working. So for him, they tried all the different types of antibiotics and they were now resisting. And this disease, later on, it was no longer confined to his urinary system. It went to affect the rest of the body. So that's why he was now in this semi-dead condition. We call it septicemia, when the infection is spilled to other systems of the body. It was affecting the heart, it was affecting the lungs, it was affecting the brain. So basically all the organs of the body were now starting to shut down. And we call that multi-organ failure. And that's just a pre-death condition, which he was now in. And the temperature which she was talking about, 47, it's not a temperature which somebody can survive. You can't survive that. So it was now a very, very bad condition.
So are you telling me, doctor, that you're actually concurring with your South African colleague that he was in his last minutes?
I am concurring, man of God. I even looked at some of the scans which he was done. And those scans, even the kidneys themselves, they were totally destroyed, man of God. totally destroyed because of this condition. And now what surprises me is, the doctors are trying to use all the different kinds of antibiotics to treat these conditions, and they are not working. And then Mama here takes water and gives him. I don't know whether it's got some antibiotic properties or what, but we know water is water. There is no ampicillin, penicillin, or whatever in water. But somehow that water was able to kill all those bugs and even to restore his function to come back to normality. It's so amazing. Medically, I can't explain what happened, man of God. Because as far as we know as scientists or medical people, water is just water. It can't revive somebody who is dying.
I'm afraid I'll have to cut you short, Doctor. We've got to take another break. We'll be right back after these messages.